Thank you, everyone. And let's show some love to MediaPost and this amazing staff who's put on such a great event in one of the most beautiful backdrops in all of the West Coast. So thank you all. And for everyone here, not sure what kind of self-induced torture brought you in on a Saturday morning, but truly thank you for being here. With a show of hands, whose brain is toast from 3 days of just amazing content, right, we've had here? The elixir actually has helped me, so thank you. Another show of hands, who might, between now and the time that you get home, might take out your phone and play something just to unwind and clear your head, right? Pretty good contingent of ratio across the people who are here. So, one of our most routine jobs, tasks as programmatic buyers is to find, quality, brand-safe pockets of supply and inventory where we can invest our clients' dollars into. And, aside from social platforms, there's, we've got CTV, arguably YouTube, where there's a good quality placement for the ad, and, relatively, good attention span. But aside from that, and my friend Lyle from Lenovo alluded to this, there is a lot of junk in the space. And, it requires more accountability, both on the buy side and more on the sell side. But, the rise of MFAs, and, that's largely, there's many reasons why. Publishers are struggling to put out good content, as well as, on the online video quality as well. So those are struggling. So where do we find a good place for that? And we found really gaming to be that solution for a number of our clients. Here's a little bit of a snapshot of just from one of our platforms of sort of the investment that we've seen in that space. And I think the jump between 2022 and 2023 is pretty relevant. And there's a few different theories there, but I think in 23 we started to see a bigger push of people to go back to the office, more commuting, all of that activity. And what better place for people to kind of pull out their phones and take a break, look in those platforms, play a little game as they're on the train going somewhere. So definitely saw that very big spike there, and in 2024 we're kind of on track to at least equal that, if not beat the investment there. Also we've seen within just the buying, there's a very great range of how you can buy the game inventory, from whether it's display or video. If you're running basic ads, you could run very efficiently at great CPMs, but you can also go and think very much outside the box. You could create custom experiences where you can have a game within a game, but ultimately, it's a really great. You've got you're taking up the entire screen of your phone, whether it's a display interstitial ad or whether it's a rewarded video, and the end user is watching it and viewing it with intent, right? Whether if they're playing a game, they chose to they get rewarded for watching the video, but they watch that entire video at their own choice and discretion in the click environment. We'll talk a little bit more about measurement on the next slide as well, and which includes a couple things: ROI. Measurement app to app is also probably has a lot of fidelity there. In the corner there's also a little bit of a just graph showing like continuous investment and growth there, showing that that channel is kind of there to stay consistently. So let's look at sort of some of the measurement aspects of it all. And a lot of these measurement tools are there across all different channels. Some of them have reached some elements of not great, some broken components to those measurements, validity to them, brand lift studies. But MMMs have really started to come back, and we've talked about them a little bit these past few days. And we could spend probably an hour talking about MMM, and arguably some of the logistics of them and questionable aspects of them, comparable to maybe the Australian breakdancing program, but more companies and more brands are leaning into those MMMs because there's so much noise, and it's become harder to really prove out what your ROI is across the channels. So we've seen consistently across various different clients and brands that delivery and that investment in those gaming spaces to prove success. And I think there's various different factors that are driving that. It could be just because you are able to buy it very efficiently and get that impression reach and engagement. But I also think if the MMM takes into consideration other engagement and quality metrics, it kind of proof is in the pudding there. Let's see there. The biggest challenge I think that we see across across the platform and trying to get more investment there is just resistance. There's a lot of misconception, and I think a lot of people, whether it's the client or whether our own account and planning teams, are just like, well, I don't really think our target audience or who we're trying to reach is there. There's multiple different ways to try to prove that out. I think another common theme that we've had here is kind of starting with first-party data and CRM, and start having that as the starting point, and try to find try to prove out that audience index is high. And again, we've commonly seen that signal where as we kind of started this conversation, a lot of you across various different ranges of age and different profiles, are open to opening up your phone and playing a game. So you can see a really good distribution of people who game and who are engaged with the various different aspects. Again, going back to the in-app gaming space isn't precluded from having not so great supplier inventory, and on the right here, just listing out some of the partners we work with. And so, as I mentioned, making sure that we're buying good quality media is accountability both on the buy side and the supply side. So rather than going and buying anything in the programmatic open space, work closely with the partners, whoever you choose. And there's a good number of them. Listing just a few of the ones here that we work with in Mobi, Digital Turbine, Zynga, Venatus. They offer a very wide range of different products, but tailor fit them. You don't have to just buy it all. If you want to stick to word games, puzzles, if you want to have more engaging videos, it really depends on the product. And if you've got a real gamer audience, you can do it all, and you can go, you can have your product placed within games. If you're the type that likes to put on an invisibility cloak and go down that path, that's there for you as well. So really have those conversations with these partners, keep them accountable, and have them curate your supply. If you're looking for the broadest reach and you're trying to kind of keep your costs down, and you've got their whole run of network, but tailor fit it as well. Lastly, again, kind of keeping this one short. Oh, let me see here. Let me see. Can I bounce back here?
Yeah, go red.
Oh, red. Sorry. There we go. Going to list out a few of some challenges, right? Again, getting the right strategy across that space could take a little bit of back and forth if you want to custom curate and make this very specific. App space, I also, there's susceptible to a lot of the, fraud. IES was here, working closely with IES to kind of make sure that we are steering clear of invalid traffic, of bots. So, you check some boxes, but that's always been a concern. And where do you find a good space for that gaming space when you've got so much investment in social and in YouTube? But I do think that works in a perfect complement, not necessarily one over the other, but they're all very complementary. Again, kind of how I started off the conversation, the alternatives to this space are quite poor. And we've seen that like with online video players. Not only is it, a lot of these online, like these video players are sitting on top of your screen. Not only is it like a bad placement, but it's almost like negative reach, right? Because you're just pissing somebody off when you've got this video player and they're trying to read something, and and they click out into some place, they lose what they were trying to read. That's in many ways kind of the state of things, unfortunately. Overlap, attention scores. These are all little different metrics that we're trying to gauge on the quality and effectiveness of our video content. So, we're going to go through some takeaways, some Q&A, but keeping it kind of short and sweet as we kind of wrap things up. Mobile usage continues to see growth against other screens. The capability to scale across various different budgets. You can spend a little, you got a small budgeted test and put it into some pockets geographically, you try it out there, but you can also scale it at very large budgets and get mass reach. Customizable, don't always think outside the box. We were just talking about all the different ways, whether it's AI and creative utilization, right? It really opens the door to coming up with some creative ways to get people to engage and really associate a good, fun experience with your brand. Again, I think it's comparable to the experience that we see in CTV and YouTube, as well as the social platforms. And whatever your measurement tools are, utilize them. But again, as we're seeing more MMMs kind of look at ROI, generally I've been seeing good trends there. That's about it. We'll do some Q&A. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to walk over, while I'm walking over to ask a question, what are some of the better performing units in the space? Because there's a lot of different units in mobile, console, and so forth. What are some of the better performing units and placements?
Yeah, great.
Was it really?
Yeah, great question.
Shit, that was his question.
Well, that was your question.
All right, well, ask it again.
So,
Can you guys say it in unison?
brain meld here, man. So, question being for this, so Tim from Ogre, working in the gaming space, I kind of want to hear from you from a agency standpoint. Are you guys seeing a lot better results from rewarded video versus like an in-game app ad? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think it really comes down to how you're defining those results and what your KPIs are structured to. If you're looking for, if click-throughs are your goal, the interstitial ads, which aren't typically part of your normal banner ad, but they're not that difficult to resize. And in general, if we didn't have that unit, most of those partners that I'd listed, if not all of them, will do that for you at no cost, and we'll turn it around really quickly. So if you're looking for click-through rates, if you want to have that full experience, it costs a little bit more, but it's a great mobile experience. The in-game, in-platform scenarios are wonderful but you really got to think of it as that branding message. Again, that was something that Lyle was talking about yesterday. How do we build more brand awareness? You're not going to get people to necessarily convert or go and purchase your product, but they're sitting with that game for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15. Your brand is sitting right there in front of them for that entire time. Like it's as good as any other platform, if not longer, right? You've got their attention for that period of time. And then there's everything in between, right? You've got your video formats. Like most video, like if you're really trying to get somebody to engage and take an action in any kind of like online environment, it's kind of different, and I often talk about this when comparing like programmatic channels versus social. Like people are in social platforms. They're kind of desperate to click on something. You're there because you're bored and you're looking to kill some time. In the online space, whether you're reading a piece of content or you're playing your game, like you're there, you're doing that for a purpose. Like, so it takes a lot more of an incentive to convince somebody, you know what, I'm going to stop playing this game, or I'm going to stop reading this content and go, focus my attention on this ad. But if you've got that, if you've got that initiative, and if you can kind of persuade somebody to do that, you'll get, you can grab that with a video ad or a standard display ad.
Thank you.
Another question over here.
Hey, Art, Jesse from Wavemaker. So I feel like clients are usually not lukewarm to gaming. It's either they're open to it and they want to be innovative, or more often than not, they're closed and they don't want to do it and have preconceived notions. And no matter how many times we see the stats of apps rising, or in the case of my client, we skew older. So I'm like, oh, 18 to 24, same population as 65 plus, like perfect. But I know my client is going to be hesitant. And I'm wondering, what have you seen as a successful way to pitch and introduce it to the client? Is it a long education and then that I have to attach my name to? And then is there ever like an aha moment? Is there anything that resonates that you've seen that clients are like, okay, let's give this a shot?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just takes a lot of massaging. It'll vary from client to client. We've got some clients that we've presented them, we've given all this data and research and deck, and they're like, I'm not so sure. And then, in which case, if they're, I'm not so sure, you alluded, there's two spectrums, but there's also a big, like, that I'm not so sure. If they're in that not so sure, we kind of give the best way, I think, is to present them with a test and learn path and saying, listen, we've got some data here to suggest that this is the right course. I know you're hesitant. Let's carve out a little bit of budget. Let's maybe not run it nationally. Pick a small geographic zone where we can isolate it, and then try it. Right? And there's a lot of benchmarks. So clients will be like, well, what are the benchmarks for our brand? And then what other case studies are out there specific to our brand? So if they're hesitant, we try to go find some case studies. Again, the partners are really good about pulling out case studies. Sometimes they're able to call out another brand or a competitor brand. Sometimes they have to mask that. So we'll lean on them to try to find and pull up the research. And some are just vehemently no. And we've had some conversations. I've got a healthcare client, right? It's kind of a shady, like, somebody, is having a fun time there, and you want to show an ad that has to do with a medical illness or issue. You're kind of pairing two different stimuli, but they might be receptive, right? Like it might be a problem that they're dealing with, even though they're in sort of a zoned out fun place. They might be receptive because their guard is down. So, like I said, I think it's a little bit of massaging, but you can get there.
Let the data tell the story, right?
Exactly.
Cool. Any other questions? So one little known fact, if you do any A/B testing, it's actually named after Art. Art Binder Testing, he coined the phrase. So
And
give
my
a round of
blood type,
applause
too.
for that as well.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend. Safe travels.